Okay, today we're going to make homemade bread. And it starts out with 2 cups of warm water at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 45 degrees Celsius. So, it's ready, if you can see. So, we will put the water into the bowl. And then next, dissolve sugar in the warm water, and it's a half a cup of white sugar. Okay, my daughter, she wanted more sugar, and my grandson wants less, so I'm going to do 2 batches, makes 4 loaves. So this one I'm going to add a little more sugar. Whisk together until it's dissolved. Okay, next is the yeast, which is 1 tablespoon plus 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. And it says stir in yeast, allow the proof until yeast resembles a creamy foam, about 5 minutes. So I will set my timer for 5 minutes. Okay, if you can see all the little bubbles, and you have, that's the perfect look. That shows you that your yeast is active. So you activated it, so that way it can do its job. Now you want to make sure that the temperature of your water when you store it is 110 degrees. You don't want it colder. I can't remember the reason, but you definitely don't want it hotter because you can burn. I think it said you can burn the yeast or something. It's not going to make it right if you get it too hot. So that's why you want to use a thermometer. Okay. Now next we're going to add in the salt and the oil, and we're going to begin mixing using a spatula. I have it all wrote down, so you know. Use a rubber scraper or a dough hook on your stand mixer. But when you're using a dough hook, when you're doing your kneading, you can over knead it. So I like doing the kneading by hand because it's 7 minutes. The last time I did go over to 7 minutes, but I didn't over knead it. So that's the wonderful thing about doing it by hand, because you know that you can't almost over knead it doing it by hand. And the salt is 1.5 teaspoons. which is to enhance the flavors. And then next we're going to add the flour 1 cup at a time. Now this recipe, when I first started out, it said 6 cups and reserve 1 cup in case if you didn't need it, because when you're kneading you want the dough to be able to lift everything up from your bowl except for like a small little spot at the bottom. But for some reason I needed more flour for mine, so I ended up using I think it was 6 cups and 3/4. And so, but if you need more than 4 cups, just add a few tablespoons at a time until you get your right consistency of your dough. You still want it sticky. Now me, I'm going to use a wire whisk to start out. I think it breaks up the clumps at the beginning a lot better. And then as it gets thicker, then you change over. So as you put your flour in the end, you'll know the approximate amount that you're going to want to use for your recipe when making this. And I found out, yes, I know bread's cheap, you know, at the grocery store, but I know that my family really loved the bread when I made it my first time. And it was thicker pieces than the grocery store, so I kind of called it like a Texas toast. But I had a loaf of bread from the store, and I had the bread that I made, and the kids kept on eating the homemade bread instead of the store-bought bread. So if it passed teenagers, then it must be pretty good, I guess. See how the dough's starting to thicken up? Then I want to change over because it's getting really thick. Okay, I'm going to go wash my hands real quick. Hold on. Okay, so now it's ready to be kneaded. I only did 5.5 cups of flour this time. I don't know why it was such a big, huge difference from the last time to this time, but that's what it was. Now you only add a little bit of flour when you're kneading, only if you need to, because you don't want it to change the recipe any. So you don't want to keep adding a whole bunch. Okay, so we're going to set our timer for 7 minutes. And I'm going to start kneading away. Now, the kneading process, you really need to do it. I looked it up and read about it. I can't remember why, but you really do need to knead it. Now, I might not be as good at it as other people out there, but this is my version. And it came out really, really good. I know they do it on the bottom part, but I did it on top. So if you're a person that don't like to get their hands dirty, this is definitely not for you. But standing up and putting your weight into it, that's what you need to do. And as I read, it said that when you're hand kneading, that you get too tired out before you can really over knead your bread. Because the last time, instead of setting it for 7 minutes, I accidentally set it for 7 hours and was wondering why them 7 minutes was very long. And then I checked, and I think I was kneading for 14 minutes. Okay, I'm going to cut the camera for right now, and I'll come back when I'm done kneading. Okay, next we're going to oil our bowl, and we're going to put the dough in it and rotate it till the dough is completely covered. And I did forget to mention, the only oil that you want to use for your dough is either vegetable oil, coconut oil, or canola oil. That's the only three you can use for this recipe, and this is a no egg and no milk recipe. Okay, very greasy and icky, but that's okay. And you're going to want to go ahead and cover it. You can use, I'm using a cheesecloth to cover mine with, a damp cheesecloth. I went ahead and wetted it, but I didn't wring it out, like really wring it out. So it's going to sit for an hour, so that way your dough can rise. So it should be like puffing up, and it'll be at least double the size. And you can use a hand towel, dampen a hand towel, and put it over top of your bowl. So this is what we have. You see how much of the bowl it's using now. And you're going to want to put it in a warm place. Like, I turned my heater up and just put it in my room and shut my door, so that way it could get really warm in there. Now, some people, if they have their dough not into a plastic bowl, I have read where they've turned their oven on for a little bit, turned it back off, and then they put, I don't know what kind of bowl they used, a metal bowl or whatever, in the oven, and shut the door. That way it kept the heat in there. But they didn't have it really high, just on for about, 5 or 10 minutes is all they did. You can look it up and see. But here is just a regular cheesecloth I had. So I just went ahead and using these for my bread making. And in the meantime, I'll make the second batch. So we will come back and see how it rose. And then we're going to punch it down and knead it for 1 more minute after that. We will be right back. Okay, this is the second batch with less sugar. Both batches took 5.5 cups of sugar, or of flour, and a little bit to sprinkle. So the most you need to put in a bowl would be the 6 cups that it said, and reserve the extra 1 cup. So this is going to go in with the first batch that I recorded, and we're going to see how they both taste with different sugars in it. Cover it again, like I said, with some kind of a cloth. This is a cheesecloth. I just cut it to the desired length that I wanted. And my yeast, I didn't want to forget, it took 10 minutes for me letting the yeast sit to do its job. 10 minutes. Some might take a little longer, some might take less, but 10 full minutes, it was really good. And I will be back with the rising of it before we punch it down and knead it for another minute. Okay, this is after an hour of sitting. I don't think I'm supposed to do that. Okay, ready to punch it down. That's what they said, punch it down. Now we're going to knead it for another minute. Look how pretty that is. Okay, before you put it back for 30 more minutes to finish rising, you're gonna have to split your dough in half and put it into 2 pans. And it says to oil your pans first before you put it in, but I took butter and I did butter. I softened my butter and then I just, you know, swish, 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 and did that. So now let's divide. Shape it into a loaf pan. Those two will be covered up and put back for 30 minutes. It's pretty hard to divide them evenly. Probably gonna have this loaf bigger than the other loaf. Good thing this isn't a professional cooking show. I would fail. Redampen my cloths, and I'm going to recover them back up and put them in my room. Be right back. Okay. It has risen at least an inch above the pan, so it's done a very good job. So now it's time to put it in the oven at 350 degrees, anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. You want your bread to reach 190 degrees because this recipe has no milk. If you have a recipe with milk, than 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Always use a thermometer, that way you don't get flat bread or anything like that. Okay, while the bread is in there cooking, I wrote some pointers down for myself. So I Googled just to make sure I knew what I was doing. And how can you tell if your bread is fully cooked? Which also combines with the avoid sunken bread. You use a food thermometer. Fully cooked bread will be 190 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Bread recipes that include milk will need to cook until 200 degrees. And the no milk, obviously, like I said, reach 190 degrees. Okay, and that's how you avoid sunken bread as well. Okay, now I was talking about allowing your yeast to proof. When I read that, I was like, what? But proofing yeast tests its vitality. You're proving it's vigorous enough to make dough rise. To proof yeast, you dissolve the yeast in lukewarm water with sugar and wait until it's creamy looking with many small bubbles, which indicate the yeast cells are doing their thing. Now, the recipe said 5 minutes, which I had to take longer. Here it says 5 to 10 minutes. So you just keep tracking it and to see if it looks really nice and creamy with all the little teeny bubbles all over it. And then you know that it's ready to continue with your recipe. Now, in the future, I want to make keto bread because I want to go back on the keto diet again. And I know many people love bread. And some people can't stay on a keto diet because, you know, they want to make peanut butter and jelly or whatever they want with their bread, you know. And in the future, I'm going to be doing some pasta. So I'll be making regular pasta. And I'm going to try the keto pasta because I do have keto flour. So I hope you will stay tuned to my channel and wait for more upcoming recipes, even though my channel's dealing with all different types of things. I just thought it would be very nice with the way 2023, 2024 is going. It would be nice to learn how to make homemade recipes from scratch at home. As long as you have flour, you have sugar, you have yeast, so forth, you know, the little extra stuff. It's a lot really cheap to make your homemade recipe. It just takes a little more effort, a little more time. Okay, this sets out of the oven. It was in for 35 minutes. Put the thermometer in, which I pre-checked it already. Got a glare, it's hard to see it. Okay. Poke a new hole somewhere else. Let me let it cool down for a minute. Okay, poke a new hole. Take the temperature of that one. So I don't think you can see it from there. Okay, I'm going to let it cool for 5 minutes. And then we're going to spread butter over the top of it. Okay, the bread is out of the pan. Before I butter it, just wanted to show you. how it turned out. Hands are washed, by the way. Always wash your hands. Okay, we're just going to take a brush and hopefully the butter's soft enough. And we're going to butter the top of it. The sides are already buttered because that's the way I did my pan. And then after the other 2 loaves get done and cooled down, I'm going to have my grandson be a taste tester if he likes the sweeter one or the less sweeter one. He already said that he would do it on camera. Okay, I'm going to let it cool all the way down because the first time that I made it, I cut it when it was still really warm and I had way thicker pieces. That's why I called it Texas toast. I think when you have it cooled completely down, it will cut better. I'm not the best cutter in the world. Look at that. Oh, still nice and hot. Steam coming off of it. After that next batch gets done and we cut it, then the taste test will come from my 12-year-old grandchild. Look at that. Look at how beautiful. Okay, I've already got them buttered. See how it looks? It looks a little darker on camera than it does in person. Look how big they got, really, really big. Look at that. Beautiful. This is the second set that I had done.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with this one since this one.
That's the first batch.
I think this one is not the sweet one.
That's the less sweet one, you think?
Yep.
Okay.
But it is good. Won't lie.
Now, the second batch.
This is the sweet one. It is good. Won't lie.
So, what do you think about each one?
I think they're the same. Just one's sweet, one's not.
So, what do you like better, the homemade bread or the store-bought bread?
Homemade.
Homemade?
Mm-hmm.
So, you're going to be devouring it up tonight?
Yeah. I like it better than that one.
That's your God's honest opinion.
Yes.
There you guys have it. Professional of a 12-year-old. Which I did not tell him to be biased. But that's what we made today. Yum,
I
yum,
think y'all
yum.
should make it.
What was that?
I think y'all should make it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Ah.